What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome to another review. Today, we are reviewing Resident Evil Revelations 1. We think of an immersive experience that created an iconic legacy for generations to come. Literally almost 30 years since the first Resident Evil came out. I mean, if you guys think about that, that's kind of wild. I mean, I know it's not 30 years yet, but it's getting darn close. When we think of an immersive experience, we think of Resident Evil, and I know that I might be a little bit biased in saying that, but if you talk to a lot of people who experienced Resident Evil from the 90s or even the early 2000s, I know they'll say the same. With Resident Evil Revelations, the opposite occurs. It lacks an immersion, it left me bored and wanting more, and it had me so excited for the end of the game because I wanted this experience to be over. Now, I know how harsh this must sound to some people, but knowing how great Resident Evil is and seeing this title, it's sad the direction this installment in particular went towards. There were aspects I enjoyed, and there were things that I loved that were cryptic and hidden behind smoke and mirrors, but they left as soon as they came. See, this is exactly how you destroy a classic. This is exactly how you do that, because I never thought I would ever say this, but Resident Evil 6 has better plotline structure than the entirety of Resident Evil Revelations 1. Me saying that, I can't stand Resident Evil 6, and yet Resident Evil Revelations has the worst plotline structure I think I've ever seen in any Resident Evil game. The way that they divvied it up into chapters was okay, but I just wish they would have completely cut out the recaps. The recaps just absolutely kill it for me. I feel like if it had better controls, I would be a little more forgiving in this review, but it also had really bad control work as well. When I go through a game, I expect the controls to at least be halfway decent, not half-baked and working only a portion of the time. It seems like Capcom wanted to make the controls kind of similar to what they were in Code Veronica X with the whole tank control scheme. It's really ridiculous because when you look at tank controls, that was a very specific thing in the 90s and early 2000s. I think around 2006, 2007, they started to go out a little bit. I say that because that was, I think, the last time that I really think I saw tank controls being utilized in a video game. When entering even into a room, you don't have any control over the character for the first, I would say, seconds, maybe a little bit less, but for at least the first second, you have no control over the character, so if there are any enemies behind that door, they can get a good swipe at you. I think the closest comparison I can make is when you go through that door and you have that 1 second delay that you don't have control over the character at all. It's almost as bad as when you're entering through the door and you have those door sequences in Resident Evil 1 Remake. Those were just awful. My Capcom thought it would be a great idea to have a sea monster zombie eating at your bloody body bits. I have no clue. I know one thing's for sure. The story in this game is half intriguing and half forgetful. 12 chapters filled with really bad dialogue and interspersed amazing storytelling and themes, capped off with more questions that left me irritated than anything. For example, why are all the monster designs so blasé? They look so forgettable and just not unique. I'm fighting a main boss in a Resident Evil game. I expect it to look disgusting but still human, and I got none of that. I think also putting Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield in this entry was just purely a cash grab. And there, I said it. No one else has the courage to say it. I'm going to say it. Putting Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 1 Revelations is purely a cash grab. Capcom knows that those are the two most popular characters besides Wesker. Putting Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield into this entry when the game really didn't call for it at certain points, it made me fairly irritated, to say the least, because when you saw the other perspectives of the other characters in the story, I was more intrigued in those characters and seeing them than I was with Chris and Jill. And the whole reason why I got this game was because of Jill Valentine. They did their job. It worked. I'm not saying it didn't work, because the marketing and having Jill Valentine on the front of the cover really does the trick. I think Chris and Jill are just there so they can admire Chris's arms and Jill's face. Let's be real here. There's not enough substance in this game, quite honestly, to make me think of it truly as a Resident Evil title. I finished it in 2 days. I could have finished it in one, but I just didn't want to be honest. It's more like an experiment, and we know how well Capcom does with experiments, because I considered Resident Evil 6 an experiment, but now looking at both of these games, like I said at the start of the video, Resident Evil 6 has more substance than Resident Evil 1 Revelations does. This game had the potential to be something truly unique. Zombies Under the Sea? That could have been a whole moment that the gaming community would have devoured. Instead, we got Jill Valentine injecting herself with an antivirus, which, come to think of it, that could be the part of the plotline for who Alice is in the Resident Evil movies. We also got links to the Ashford twins that were vague at best, a bulkier pre-steroid-ridden Chris Redfield, and a lazy/repetitive take on a world that's beautiful and filled with horror and mystery. This series deserves better than this title. I guess it's time to add a new game to Davy Jones' locker. Guys, that was it for today's review. If you all like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below because I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And with that being said, stay casually nerdy, you guys. I will see you all in the next video. Bye, you guys.